Okay, so this is going to be another Campaign Trail Showcase mod playthrough, and today I don't know which one I'm going to be playing through because, as you can see on the left hand side here, there is a random scenario option chooser thingy. Yeah, load up a random scenario and see where fate takes you. Can you beat them all? Well, we're going to be playing one today, I think. So let's see which one we get. Well, yeah, I think I know which one it is. It's Wisconsin. Well, yeah, it said that before, didn't it? The Wisconsin Trail, 1934. A Party is Born. Not sure I play this all that often, actually, but yeah. For all your life, the state of Wisconsin has been defined by its one true party, the Republicans. Where most states see regular bipartisan struggle, Wisconsin's political core has been entirely concentrated in the GOP. Whether you were an arch-conservative stalwart or a radical progressive, you stood in the Republican primary or faced an inevitable defeat. With the New Deal, you have seen this system crumble. As the state's Democrats were revived by the promise of FDR, the rural, poor and industrial labourers that voted for progressive Republicans turned to them, leaving stalwarts in control of the party. These men have cemented the GOP as a conservative institution, built to deny the working man's due. What remains of progressivism in Wisconsin depends on those few men with the strength to protect it. Your father has passed. Your brother lacks a spirit. It's up to you, Phil. Find a way out. So yeah, that's actually remained the case since the Conservatives taking over the Wisconsin GOP. Well, it's a case. It's the case in most places, most states, isn't it? But perhaps it happened a bit earlier here, if anything, because you had Joseph McCarthy. I think he was from Wisconsin, wasn't he? He was elected in the 1946 or 1948 to the Senate, and then you had more recently Scott Walker and the guy's in the Senate now, Ron Johnson, isn't it? So yeah, that progressive tradition has very much gone by the wayside, as it were, hasn't it? So yeah, Philip La Follette, his party's uncertain home state is Wisconsin. Robert La Follette was the greatest man in the history of Wisconsin. Already your father has become a mythic hero to the progressive movement. The threads of his life, his conversion to progressivism, his run for senator and the presidency, litter your speeches and the speeches of your peers. Almost a decade ago, you and your brother returned to Washington to see him before he passed on. Your family still holds a memorial on that day every year. You and Bob have attempted to maintain his course since then, but it has not been easy. Each of you quickly found statewide seats, but without Dad's charisma and connections, you have been left to face a GOP which has drifted into fierce conservatism, polarised against the New Deal, while Bob has managed to hold on to his Senate seat, I think that should say, really. Your more audacious rhetoric has left you vulnerable in the Republican primary for governor. You were the first La Follette to lose an election, in a primary no less. Now you quietly maintain the La Follette machine and hope for better times. As the Republican Party refuses to accept the New Deal, some part of you is coming to accept that standing by their party may no longer be an option. So yeah, I mean, it's evidently the sort of Me Too Republicanism wasn't as strong in Wisconsin after 1932 as it was in Kansas, for example, where they nominated the governor for president, Alf Landon, in 1936. A sort of a Me Too liberal Republican. Yeah. And so here's Bob Jr. Yeah, you got beat last November. Bob didn't. While you rebuild your law firm and rekindle Wisconsin's progressive movement, Bob remains in Washington, where he has crafted some of the legislation that is helping guide America out of this crisis. He's made friends with the president. There's talk that Roosevelt might even endorse him. You feel a great pride in having him as your brother, but there's a tinge of jealousy there. He's the namesake, and without mom and dad, he heads the family. Everyone knows he's destined for greatness, maybe even the presidency. Can they say the same about you? Bob is not much like his father. He inherited the name, the ideals, but not the spirit. He doesn't preach to the crowds like Dad, but talks plainly on needs and solutions. You're the one who's got Dad's lust for adventure. If Wisconsin politics must be rebuilt, you're the man to do it. Just make sure that you've got Bob's blessing before you kick the doors down. So yeah, sort of a family, a big dynasty sort of battle here, really, isn't it? So it's just, yeah, Wisconsin. So question 1. I honestly don't recall. Possibly haven't played this before at all. I might have just scrolled through it once or something. But yeah, anyway, question 1. You have returned to your private law firm for a year when you were contacted by former Congressman Tom Amley of Alcorn. Previously representing Wisconsin's 1st District, Amley lost his nomination to a conservative Republican, just like you. He has grown tired of capitalism and wants radical change through a third party, and has joined forces with LIPA, a left-wing political organisation, to do so. So, what do we decide to do here? The options are, I like Amley well enough, but I'm not certain I can trust LIPA. Progressivism shouldn't have its nose led by out-of-state socialists. I'll let Amley take the charge, and until then I'll let them list me as a contributor. Or I'd like to talk to the man. Undoubtedly America faces a crisis neither party is willing to answer. If I can write a few articles for Common Sense, I can build the groundwork for a comeback next November. Yeah, let's just talk to him. Let's just go for the second option. You enjoy returning to writing, but you're not entirely comfortable with Common Sense. Bob and the rest of the family view it with suspicion, and many of its writers are outright socialists. Still, you're happy to get your name out there. You've spent too long as a private citizen. Just check the... Yeah, so we're running a poor third at the moment. Kind of funny how you can see the difference in the between the wow counties here. Well, apart from Waukesha, yeah, the wow count, the two of the 3 wow counties are strongly sort of Democrat. This is before the suburbanisation of them in the, well, I guess it was after the Second World War, wasn't it, in the 50s? And yeah, they're still pretty conservative Republican today, yeah. Unlike a lot of other suburbs, which have sort of drifted to the liberal left side of things. For the next few months, you continue to work in Madison, watching the New Deal unfold with a mix of skepticism and hope. Your position as a nationally known progressive gives your opinions on policy a unique credence, and FDR clearly knows it. He has repeatedly reached out looking for whether you have a place in his administration. So how do we approach this then? The New Deal deserves some proper criticism from proper progressives, especially when programs like the AAA and CWA have such a mixed effect. FDR is a fine man, so my brother tells me. But but I can do more as an outside critic than I ever could from a Washington bureau. I just can't bear leaving Wisconsin for a seat on some commission, but I do want to help out FDR however I can, and I'll be upfront about that. If I can shape the New Deal even just a little, I might be able to steer it right and keep the respect of the voters. The people love FDR as well, they should. After a decade of Conservatives, the people are begging for any kind of relief. I am no Democrat and I'm not willing to join FDR's administration, but it's bad politics to start any attacks. Yeah, let's try and shape the New Deal, but stay in Wisconsin, the second option. FDR ultimately prefers more dependable and frankly powerful progressive Republicans than yourself, but he does speak with you on occasion. Your cheerleading is well received, but party war is who it benefits, progressives or Democrats. So yeah. That was water, by the way. Slowly, the idea of a third party grows. After Democratic Governor Schmiedman, hope that's how it's pronounced, fails to properly handle a strike from the milk pool and at Kohler's factories, Amley's vision is widely popular amongst rank and file, especially workers newly radicalised by the Depression. Your allies across progressive leadership remain sceptical, however, most notably Aurora, who wants to run as a Republican this election. I'm starting to think it might be a good idea to attach ourselves to this third party, actually. I support this cause, but I can't get in front of it yet until Bob accepts it. I think the best thing to do is to keep myself involved in talks with the party and see which way the winds are blowing. Oh, this is good news. I've been involved with this movement since the start. I can amicably work with this new organisation while remaining well connected with the old progressives. Let's start making speeches and pushing for this across the state. So yeah, it's kind of interesting how their father ran as a third party candidate for president in 1924, winning Wisconsin, of course, in the process. Yeah, there seems to be more scepticism about it here, but yeah, I'm going to support this cause. You spend the next weeks quietly arguing for a third party in mail correspondence, private meetings. Progress is agonizingly slow. Everyone in power likes things as they are, most of all Bob. While you wait, Amley pushes on in a campaign across the state. In February 1934, the winds begin to shift after several shockingly active Amley ran events in central Wisconsin. A few long-time La Follette allies, most notably Herman Erskine, travelled to Washington to meet with Bob and agreed to host a meeting in Madison that March. You are not among them. I'm not happy that Bob would step over me, but I just need to accept it. Come March, I will stand in front of the crowd and give my argument for a third party. Bob has the cards here, not me. I will support this decision. I will be in attendance, but I won't step into the limelight until closer to the election. Yeah, that seemed like a better cause. You may have been slighted, but that's no reason to step back. As you watch Amley deliver to a roaring crowd, you can feel that he is capturing the energy that should be all right. Yeah. In the last hours of the Madison conference, there comes another roadblock. Wisconsin Secretary of State Theodore Damon is a progressive, but he is part of late Senator Blaine's faction, and against the new party, he has chosen to interpret Wisconsin's party formation laws very strictly, hoping to force the progressives back into the Republican fold. This is ridiculous. Just go to the state Supreme Court and ask them for a clarification on the rules. Surely they will agree with the spirit of the laws. No playing nice here. Damon's strong arming is only going to cut him out of the progressive fold, and he won't have a chance in hell come November. I'll let him know. Damon wants to drown us in paperwork, but we can survive it. We'll take whatever legal challenges he can throw and get them sorted. He can't play this game forever. Or let's talk to Damon and see if we can sort this matter out. He's a progressive and he can see how hard it is for us under the Republicans. A wasteful primary, a hostile national administration. There's no future under the Republican banner. Let's see what the Supreme Court say. Your play is very risky. Many of these justices are conservatives appointed by Colonel Sheedman. Yet your legal skills prevail. The final ruling allows for a clear path forward with both ballot access and a reasonable count of needed signatures. So yeah, we're rising in the polls. We're sort of stronger up in the northwest here, it looks like. Green. Yeah, we're not very strong in if at all, in Milwaukee. But anyway, with the legal question settled, you and your fellow progressives plan for a second progressive convention to formally create this new party in a crowded hall, Fond du Lac, on May the 19th. Your time comes. Already there are dramatics. Two separate Milwaukee delegations have arisen, one pro-third party and another, and one against. Well, as we just observed, Milwaukee doesn't seem to like, as a whole, the this third party, or us in general, but there's no reason that we can't have both groups participate to respect the rules. We'll see one as the Madison delegation and the other as part of the at-large delegation. Milwaukee's delegations need to represent every progressive in the country. Whatever fracture has happened here, it is up to the representatives of that fine county to resolve it and return to one delegation. Until then, we can't see anyone. It's not hard to see the Blaine Aligned Convention as more legitimate here. It has Damon, after all, and removing him would cause quite the storm. Let's go for the Blaine Aligned Convention. Damon is happy to know that the clout of his incumbency will remain in the new party, but the men he booted are not so pleased. For many of those whose lives were destroyed by the Depression, he feels just another insider, callously supporting the systems that let them down. The first resolution is by far the most important, whether a third party should be made at all. As the floor is open, Chairman Evu, whatever, talks with you on strategy. How should we set the terms of this debate? Wow, there's only one option here. This is practically a settled question, and there's nothing to gain from ripping it open at the party congress. Let's limit discussion to an hour and move quickly to a vote. EU announces the results 252 to 44. A party is born. And the party isn't doing that well, it looks like, at the moment. Soon after, a question splits the room. Amley and his radicals want to christen the new party Farmer Labour, modelled by their own class conscience views. Bob and your old Republican allies can't stand it. They want progressive, the label Dad used in 24. As I said before, though most remain with Bob, tensions are rising. I think we're going to go for the progressive label, actually, which is... let's see what happens. You feel a dash of pride as you describe the parties who far under that label. Radicals grumble, but the final tally has progressive far above the rest. And yeah, that's given us a little bit, well, we've got a little bit of a bump after that. Robert arrives late into the convention and delivers a mediocre speech on his progressive credentials, unenthusiastically noting that he will run under the banner and explaining his achievements with Roosevelt. The crowd cheers anyway. Good enough. Hopefully he'll come around in time. Tensions remain high as the conference nears its end. You had initially considered including a final vote on drafting a party platform, but it seems this may only cause more tension, even as it might allow more places for radicals to have a say. With this environment of radicalism in the air, a declaration drafted here would be entirely out of our hands. Make sure EU shuts down any notions of it. I think we can be diplomatic here. Let's preempt AMLI by putting forward our own motion, one to assemble a committee which will eventually craft a party platform. It's a procedural step, but one that will feel like the right direction. With all eyes on my brother, his positions inform the wider progressive movement. If he writes a statement of principles, we can endorse that and avoid this nasty question entirely. Yeah, that last option seems like the best. Let's rely on our brother again. Bob agrees to write such a thing, but the radical progressives don't entirely buy it. Your brother is popular, but he's clearly on the more establishment side of things. Yeah, obviously this is all a... there's always a battle over this, isn't there? The establishment versus the insurgencies. After the convention closes, AMLI's radicals leave in a huff. A few weeks later, the FLPL meets again in Font du Lac. While ostensibly still supporters, they are seriously considering their own line of endorsements, working against moderate membership. I'm not going to deny them a chance to form their own chapters, but I draw the line at endorsements. We need unity, the virtue that allowed my father and his allies to enact the Wisconsin idea. Stay in our party, fight for your ideals. I promise you that the mass party you asked for already awaits. I don't want to antagonise this crowd with appeals to my father. These people are good progressives, even if their ideas can be strong. I'll just make some logical arguments on why endorsements are a bad idea. Promote the use of a primary and leave it at that. I'm drawing a line here, building a second party infrastructure to our very foundations. As delicately as I can, I'm telling these men that we've got to stick to informal party chapters where we have done so much in the past. I'm not going to beg, but clearly something has gone wrong here and I want to make it right. I want to sell that to these people. We are willing to incorporate their ideas, believe in their vision. We are a mass party for the working man, for them. Yeah, let's be inclusive. You've clearly shut down the FLPL's independent street, but now you've opened up a new question. Do you really support these fanatics? Hard to seem fair and partial when you so openly sympathise with one side. Well, we're not doing so well anyway, are we? Well, we're up to 12% in Milwaukee, but Bob meets with you after the Fond du Lac conference. He's afraid that if you run for governor, you'll make the Progressive Party seem like a product of nepotism, jeopardising both of your chances. He wants you to publish a signed statement confirming you want to run in 1934. I suspect you'll be saddled with different problems if I step aside. Look at the biggest names behind me. The first one has to be AMLI, and behind him a whole cohort of his tight fam. Frankly, they just don't have the same kind of experience as you or I. I'm not going to write myself out until I have to, but I understand your concern. How about this? I won't fire unless no one is willing to step up. If a stronger candidate arises, I'll let them pass. I just have my doubts. There aren't many men who can unite all our strands without the Lafayette name. Well, given that we aren't doing that well, I think it's probably best if we try another candidate, possibly be open to another candidate. You keep yourself more or less in the running, but refuse to pin down your candidacy. Bob is satisfied by this, even as he knows the chance of your presence prevents anyone serious from throwing their hat into the race and playing coy helps prevent the party from seeming another family project. Bob's left you in the cold again. In mid-July, he returns from his term at the Senate and gets the party leadership together at the old family farm in Maple Bluff, hoping to persuade them to ditch you as a candidate for governor. Whatever happens there. Sorry, that's reminding me of something else. Anyway, they ultimately choose not to stop you. You quietly file in the primaries a few days later. It's an ugly feeling, jealousy, yeah. So we're on the brink of going into second place at least. Without any major opposition, you will clearly be the first progressive nominee for governor. As such, your primary campaign is essentially an early start to the general election. What should we do in this time? There's no need to spend much on this leg, but getting the vote count high in the primary can make it clear to the public that we're worth voting for in the general. No reason to stop the march. The battle for the party is over. Now we patch things up. I want to speak to the milkful, talk with Daman, all that. My kind neutrality will let things heal. When we made this party, we made it to avoid the expense of a difficult primary. We should save our resources for the general election. No, I think we should try and get a big vote in the primary anyway. I think your campaign starts early, drumming up support for a show of force in the primary. You're already exhausted by September, but this is what the party requires of you. Keep fighting, Phil. Keep at it. In August, FDR arrives to a gleeful crowd in Milwaukee. During his speech, he notes an emphatic endorsement of both sitting senators, your brother included, but he stops short of endorsing you, instead opting to lightly support sitting Governor Sheedman. Of course, he would not support me. FDR is not a true defender of the common man, but a cynical opportunist whose vision solves American problems through ineffective and over-applied policy. We are better off without him. He deserves opposition who understand America's woes. This hardly matters when Bob got the president's approval. FDR has given America a sign that he supports the Progressive Party, and it's up to the Democrats to try and water down that as best they can. Well, that seems kind of disingenuous, doesn't it? Given that he has actually endorsed or lightly supported Sheedman. Or the final option anyway is, yes, FDR did not give me his endorsement, but he gave me no assault despite my criticisms of his work. I believe that shows that behind his loyalty to party, FDR understands that the Progressive Party fights for the interests of the working man like he does. Yeah, I think you've got to be kind of pro-FDR, I think, in this environment too, yeah. It's a bit of an awkward seg, but made worse, seg or whatever, but made worse because FDR did endorse your opponent, if only lightly. Still, his silence on your cause is telling. As the primary race ends and shape, the general election comes into focus, with you siphoning off Republican support in the rural north. Democrats easily take the most votes, while the Progressive edge out the Republicans for second place. The Republicans' unknown nominee will likely matter little outside stalwart strongholds, but Governor Sheedman looks tough to beat. So what do we do here then? The theme of this election is hitting everywhere. We will campaign wherever we can. Let Zeratsky try his letter scheme, whatever else we need to get everyone in Wisconsin on our side. We can count on the Northeast vote. My concern is with Milwaukee. That's where Sheedman has his base, and the support of a city like that could decide this election. I'd like to make sure it's clear that I'm more than a farmers candidate, but a Labour candidate. After those numbers, the last thing we want is to let Sheedman make his way west. He's got a lot of pull with Norwegian after he accepted the Nobel for Wilson and his time as mayor of Wisconsin makes him acutely able to target our home base. We need to make sure the West remains loyal. This is where we need to look at the map, isn't it? Yeah, we need to build up support in and around Milwaukee, I think, and not so much Madison, but Dane County. How are we doing up in Brown? I mean, yeah, 191,000 votes in. I don't think any other county's got anywhere near 100,000, even Madison or Brown County at this point, which is Green Bay, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, let's focus on Milwaukee. Or try and do. You wrangle some endorsements from Labour leaders and campaign up and down the shore, right in the Democrats' home territory. Meeting these new people energises you. These are the fighters for a new generation of progressives, the voters we need. Or not, or maybe not. Well, we're clearly in second place. Your campaign manager, Tom Duggan, has a funny idea. He wants to talk with the socialists and see if they can dominate you as well. It's been a long time since he was their party leader, but the socialist vote could mean the difference. In Milwaukee, especially where they have been in power for decades. I would love to, of course, but at heart we are a party which wishes to fix capitalism, not break it. Although I can sympathise with their struggle, the small businesses and hard-working farmers I depend on do not want to see me with that crowd. Socialists are a radical bunch, but they see eye to eye with many of our members, and their current votes are wasted in statewide elections. So long as they ask nothing of us, we can certainly stand to benefit from them. I think this is the best one because we've got nothing to lose at this point. We're 17 points behind or whatever. The socialists are interested, but even with your progressive politics, you're still a tad too reformist for their liking. Still, even the news that a coalition was considered is a shock to your more bourgeois supporters. You're well aware that you have strings left to pull. A few key endorsements could take you over the top, and your political dynasty has the strength to get some serious backing. We are not alone in this fight. Republicans from across America struggle with their party's rightward trend. Senator Norris and Congressman LaGuardia are the kind of progressive speakers who can show Wisconsin that we're part of something bigger. Well, Hal, if we want our third party to work, we need to teach by example. Floyd Olson has Minnesota by the ear. Surely he can show us a thing or two. Relying on Minnesota and Wisconsin is not sure that's the best idea. Bob's campaigning already and his race is tied up. Let's have him come do some stumping for me if he has the time. I think, let's rely on him again. With Bob home for the next few months, he sees no reason not to help out. You and him have an odd rapport on the campaign trail. You're a preacher and he's a teacher. Even if there's some grumbling about the dynasty, you feel it's worth it. And we're doing better in the Northwest. Yeah, we're over at 30% now, so a shocking event has occurred. Incumbent Governor Sheedman injured his foot at the opening of a state park last summer. Today, his campaign announced his wound had become gangrenous and required amputation. Oh dear, that's dark. Excuse the pun. Good Lord, think of the sympathy vote. I want us to tread carefully. Let's issue our condolences and stop campaigning for a stretch. We'll take a hit, but we'll get savage if we don't act respectful. Again, a sort of a slightly unfortunate pun there, isn't there? This is tragic, but overreaction could cost us a crucial moment in the final hour of this race. We'll give him our kindest regards, as is our duty, but beyond this, I see no reason to stop our campaign. Yeah, I mean, illnesses of that, I mean, health problems of this kind were more common in those days, and there was more of a, maybe not as much of an expectation on that part. That's my reasoning, so yeah. Your thinking is cynical, but you're ultimately proven correct. Whispers arrive of his mortality, and democratic outrage despise his lieutenant, not lieutenant, lieutenant, this is America, governor, a man they have stopped campaigning for entirely. His campaign is plunged into peril while you continue on. And wow, we're still behind. I mean, it could well be Milwaukee that cost us this, couldn't it? In the last days of the election, you have one last chance to appeal to the people of Wisconsin at your election night in Madison. It needs to be Milwaukee, doesn't it? What's your theme at this final hour? The death of conservatism. Today, the Republican Party in Wisconsin has become a shell of itself, working not for the farmers, but for the bankers, for the Wisconsin idea to survive. The only right choice is our ticket. The New Deal. Wisconsin Democrats are failing to live up to the standards that their president is setting within Wisconsin. The progressives are his party. The La Follette legacy. The Wisconsin idea made this great state a paragon of equality and moral fortitude. Now, as America faces the greatest crisis, we may be able to do this again. I think, given how much we've lent on that, we've got to just stick with that, haven't we? It might not work out, but yeah, the La Follette legacy. You tallied with Father's final election in 1924 and the ideals that he was fighting for. Here, in a new party of progressive, you have a chance to bring it to life. You hear the crowd roar and think of him. So here's election night results. It'll be the most overwhelming ones will come in first, so that'll be probably Milwaukee and some of us. The ones that are the least close, I should say. The least close, yeah. So here we go. Milwaukee, that doesn't seem very good. Dane, we would have hoped to get more, like 50% in Dane to win. I think I don't think we've won. We're behind with only a few of these close counties to go. 2.8%, so unless there's some overwhelming thing in here, which I don't think there's going to be, is that we've won Brown County, which is Green Bay. Appropriately enough, Green Bay. 3 counties left we're not going to win, because these will be like 1% margins or so. Yeah, as you can see, less than 1%. One more county to go. Yeah, well, we've come third in that one anyway. So we lost by 2.4%. Nice looking map anyway. But so we've got a newspaper. No, it's not. It's a biography chapter from a biography. It looks like there. So it says, "I'm sorry, Mr. La Follette, you have lost the 1934 election. A few weeks after the loss, you meet with Bob at his family farm in Maple Bluff. Bob won, of course, not easily, but there's just no one else in the state like him. With the rest of the party failing to win a single statewide election, Bob is left as essentially an independent. You're pretty sure he'll rejoin the Republicans in 1940 if he can. You tell him he's upset. He imagined himself as a president someday, and so did you. Without the Republicans, there's just no party to take him there. He'll be lucky to keep the seat. You've suffered even more. After this fiasco, you'll probably never return to politics again. But it meant something to Bob too. Reluctantly, he put his trust in you, and you just couldn't build the platform. Yet he's not angry, at least not as angry as you thought he'd be. He's just sad. Phil, I know you tried, he says, and you did your best. It's where the whole movement was pushing us. We just couldn't find a way to push back. He looks out towards the water, and so do you. From the porch of the family house, you can see the state capitol, brilliant and white, its reflection dancing in the waters below. So yeah, no further reading. That's kind of surprising. I mean, I would have thought they'd put this. This is obviously sourced from like some books, isn't it? I think. So yeah, that's that. I'm going to have to read more about that on Wikipedia at least. This election, Sheedman, whatever his name is, as well. His horrible incident with the foot and all that gangrene. Yeah, and yeah. So that was quite enjoyable. First time I've ever played it. Certainly, first time I've ever played it all the way through. So yeah, that'll be it. Probably be more of these coming, I guess. Yeah. So, thanks for watching.